Hi everybody, DUGROZ here with DUGROZ Reports. Welcome to another episode of Frugal Points, the series where I drive in my car and talk to you about the philosophical side of points and miles. Let's dive in. Today's topic is the joy of free, or in other words, the aspect of points and miles whereby you choose freeness or getting stuff for free over getting the best possible cents per point. So those of you who have followed my recent live stream know that I just got back from Washington, D.C. with my family. And in that vacation, like many other vacations, there were a lot of things that were either unable to be covered with points and miles, or it was difficult to cover with points and miles, or at least you could say you had to use a non-traditional technique. We often think about RIP trips. You've heard me use that an acrostic before. So R stands for rental, as in rental car. I stands for inn, I-N-N, like a hotel. And then P stands for plane. Obviously, that's the airplane. If you can cover those three things on your trip, you're meeting the goal of most points and miles people. Frankly, with a lot of points and miles people, you just need the IP, not even the rental car. So, let's say you have enough points to cover a nice Hyatt or a nice Intercontinental or whatever. You got enough points to cover your flights. You're good. In the minds of some people, but not in the mind of this guy. Now, I was there at one time, but I've transitioned into wanting to cover everything with points and miles, whether directly or indirectly. In other words, I want the net impact to my family budget when I travel to be $0.00. Sometimes the only way to get there is by cashing out points. So when I took this most recent trip, I learned something about myself, and it's that for me, I really like corn, but also the joy of free is more important to me than maxing out cents per point. We had a very lovely Intercontinental where the cents per point were much better than the other hotel that I'm about to get to. However, there was not free breakfast, and there was resort fees of $34 a day. Now, obviously I counted for that when I calculated the cents per point, so even, taking that into consideration, it was still tremendous value. And yet, the not free breakfast and the resort fees really bothered me. The second hotel I stayed at was an Embassy Suites by Hilton, and it had free breakfast. It was buffet style, continental, but nonetheless it was free. I mean, eggs, bacon, sausage, biscuits and gravy, Fruit Loops, milk, orange juice, etc. You're pretty basic, basic but nice continental breakfast, and no resort fees. So free as in free, $0.00. The cents per point were not as good as the Intercontinental, but I felt way better about the Embassy Suites than I did the Intercontinental. Even though on paper, the Intercontinental was a quote-unquote better value. I don't think it's wrong to take either one of those positions. So, if you were someone who, and I'm just making stuff up here, and I might be exaggerating slightly for the sake of emphasis, but let's say your household income is $250,000 a year. Not wealthy enough that you can just drop $50,000 a year on a vacation, but wealthy enough you can put $10,000 a year into a savings account and say, this is my vacation slush fund. If you are in that situation, I would probably go for maximizing value. However, if you're in a more of that meaty middle, and I'm just going to completely make up numbers here, your household income is $60,000 to $125,000 a year, where you're probably like, our travel budget's like maybe $2,000 a year, or in my case, the goal is to make the family travel budget zero, because my points, miles, cash back, and bank account bonuses are going to pay for it. you're probably going to be more attracted to the joy of free, or having that net zero. Net Zero was a free internet provider back in the 90s, I believe. So, which side of the debate are you on? And again, it's okay if you reach a different conclusion than I do, but for my family, the joy of free wins. Now, that's part of the reason why I'm so attracted to cards that give you, another term I've coined, the joy of 1.5. And these would be cards that you can use to make redemptions for miscellaneous travel with a redemption value of around 1.5 cents per point. Of course, the tried and true number one example is the US Bank Altitude Reserve. I think for someone that loves the joy of free more than cents per point, the Altitude Reserve makes a lot of sense. Things like Uber and Lyft, things like Viator, things like taxis, trains, buses, subways, public transit in general, again, subject to the minimums. Maybe an off-brand hotel that's not part of any loyalty chain. Or maybe you just make it your card of record when you check into the hotel and they put the $200 security deposit on that and you use real-time rewards to cover your meals or your incidentals. It covers those sort of non-traditional things. And you know what? Your cents per point value is going to be exactly 1.5, no more, no less. Another example that I like, maybe even a little better, at least temporarily, is the Aeroplan card issued by Chase. Because, yes, it's for Aeroplan, the Canadian Air Canada Airlines, but you can also use it on Pay Yourself Back. 1.25 cents per point on anything that codes as travel. No minimums, no maximums. You do have to only use it in conjunction with either Aeroplan points you earned on the Aeroplan card or from the program, or transferred from Chase. They slap your hand if you transfer from Amex or Capital One and try to do it that way. But if you take advantages of transfer bonuses from Chase, which over the last 2 years, traditionally they've done a 20% transfer bonus about every 6 months, and there's a baked-in 10% transfer bonus when transferring 50,000 points or more, you're getting 1.3 cents per point on the transfer times 1.25 cents on the redemption, and that comes out to a functional 1.625 cents per point. So that's where I'm at. I just love the joy of free. So if somebody tells me, don't cash out at 1.5 cents per point or don't cash out at 1 cent per point, I'm going to say, I love the joy of free. I love it too much. I'm always going to be looking for ways to kind of rig the system to make it free, and that's going to be a higher priority for me than maxing out cents per point. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to ignore cents per point. I'm going to make sure that the cents per point I'm getting is at least equal to or greater than the cash out redemption option. For example, I wouldn't transfer my points from Amex to Hilton at a 1-to-2 ratio and then use those points to book a Hilton at a cents per point rate of less than 0.5 cents per point, because that would be worse than just using cashback to buy points. But if it's maybe only slightly over, like if it's 0.6 or 0.7 and it's just the right hotel at just the right time, I'll still do it. There's a few other options I need to explore that I haven't looked into yet, like booking rental cars and hotels through Aeroplan or through United or something like that, but I'll be doing that in the near future. If you have any tips or suggestions on how to cover all those miscellaneous travel expenses, especially meals at restaurants, using points, let me know. If you have a strong opinion on what I just went over, let me know. And if you've not yet done so, consider joining as a channel member. A DUGROZ Diehard gets access to videos like these early. It's only $3 a month and you can cancel anytime, as well as members only videos that I only release to members ever. I just recorded a video ranting about some things from my job recently, so Only members get access to that. $3 a month, cancel anytime. Find the join button underneath any of my videos. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks for watching.